Saturday, the 18th of January 2025. When this season in the Premier League is done and dusted, will we look back if we get a really tight finish and wonder, was that the day when Liverpool scored twice in stoppage time and Arsenal, having been ahead and got pegged back, came so close but couldn't find a way to get the win against Aston Villa? And ultimately, another 2 points dropped. That's 12 points dropped this season for Arsenal from winning positions in the Premier League. Hello, everyone. I'm Mark Donaldson. Alongside me is Janusz Mihalik. What a game it was. Aston Villa coming from behind to earn a 2-2 draw at Arsenal. What do you make of it, Janusz? And did Villa deserve their point in the end?
You always deserve it when you absolutely dominated by a team like Arsenal. You're 2-0 down, you're away from home, and you come back like this. You got to give Villa credit. We see what they did last season in April, winning here, and basically, we knew then that Manchester City were going to win the title. So I want to give credit to them. I feel bad a little bit for Arsenal because, as I've mentioned, Premier League is funny, right? No level of domination or result is ever safe enough. It seems that way. I thought that Arsenal were easily going to see that game through. And just basically you have to put that down to individual mistakes because, I know we're going to in a second talk about the title, who's going to win and what it means in general, but Arsenal played well. At the very least, they showed me that this is a team that's still, at the very least, in a conversation for that, right? We can look at this 6 points game in hand, so it's certainly not over, in my opinion, but it's going to be terribly difficult for Arsenal to see that through. But yes, this is the day. I said it after the game against Liverpool, that we may look back at this day, and I meant it more for Liverpool, but given what happened right now, my goodness, a lot of smiles at Anfield.
Yeah. Did it also show us today the very fine margins between the very top teams at the top of the table in England?
Oh, absolutely. You look at the way even the ending, right? Arsenal's so close, never given up, showing the sort of quality that I think I doubted a little bit as of late. You just looked at them, you looked at the injuries, you look at constantly us talking about a number 9, although Kai Havertz certainly had a number 9 type of finish today, right? But yes, this is by far the most competitive league in the world. And Mark, you know that when I say this, for people that listen, we certainly covered Bundesliga, La Liga, and for many years Serie A. I have respect, but it's just incredible what some of these teams do. I think we also saw Bournemouth with all kinds of injuries, even bigger than the ones that anybody else has in this league. In comparison, what they did going to St. James's Park, it's unbelievable. 2-0 is not enough.
And that's the thing. Before we get to the goals, let's talk about the Arsenal team. And if you're going to win a title, you also need a bit of luck. Okay, you need to play well, but you need a bit of luck, whether it's injuries or whatever. The best teams are normally the ones who play the best, but also have a good bit of luck in that they keep their key players fit for most of the season. Now, Saliba took a little bit of a knock, was unable to take his place alongside Gabriel. There's very few times this season where Arsenal have had 3, 4, 5 games in a row with exactly the same back four, starting with the injury to Ben White. Yes, Jurrien Timber's come in. I think Timber's pretty much played every single position in the back four. Would you say either of the Villa goals, without going too much in depth into them, because we will in a second, were as a result of another Arsenal different defense lining up, or do you think it's just one of those things?
Look what Villa has had to do. Look what Villa has had to do, right? This game was very much about fullbacks. Look what Trossard did to Matty Cash all day, right? And it's funny how it works because Matty Cash delivers a ball for the equalizer with his left foot, and who's at fault? It was Thomas Partey. He was stepping up instead of marking Ali Watson on the first post. And then what about Maatsen, right? The first goal that Arsenal scored Martinelli was 5 yards behind before Trossard crosses. So it was very much about fullback. And funnily enough, the best of them all was Lewis Kelly, the youngster, because not only I thought he played relatively well defensively, and we saw contributed almost in what should have been a goal, although there might have been an offside there in the last minute, right when Trossard had that chance. It was Lewis Kelly who played that through ball. So I mean, so many faults. That's why I mentioned individual faults, because you look at the first one. I mean, you look at Merino falling asleep on Tielemans as well. It wasn't necessarily that Arsenal weren't good. I think they were excellent in so many ways against an excellent Villa team. But individually, it just happens. It wasn't a function of a team necessarily. It's easy for us to say, yes, Saliba is one of the best in the world, top three. Villa also, over the Mengs and Konza. This is just recent. I mean, this was a superb score last season. So I don't know if I want to put it to that, because I think that Jurrien Timber has been absolutely excellent.
Great. Yep.
Imagine if last season, I mean, if he didn't have such a break. He's such a great player. You can play him anywhere. And by the way, I think everyone knows that he's played centrally in Holland. He's played centrally for Holland. He's played in back four. He's played in back three. He played left fullback, right fullback. This is a player as good as any in this league.
Let's get to the goals. What impressed you most about the way Martinelli gave Arsenal the lead and then they went 2-0 up?
Well, I mean, this is what Arsenal do. We just kind of, when Bukayo Saka has come out, obviously that makes a difference. Martinelli usually playing on the other side. Trossard has been moping a little bit, yet today he was the best player on the pitch by far. So what impressed me, that Arsenal play true to their philosophy, and that's possession, that's stretching the team, the wide players playing a focal role in their attack, and that's what we saw on these goals, right? I mean, exactly. Martinelli very, very good, and got himself a goal, and it was a great goal because he waited. Maatsen, if you remember, just took a look over his shoulder, saw the cross, didn't see the player, and paid the price for that as well. So again, this is one of those games where short for words, and that doesn't come very, very often, Mark, because I just thought in general, I mean, Arsenal deserved to win this game, and just the fact that Villa came back in the second half, credit to them, but Arsenal were good, couple mistakes, and you paid the price in this league.
And that's the thing. To win a title, you need many things going your way. Ideally, you want to be the best team, but you can get by with being up there and needing a bit of fortune and other things. But for Arsenal, they're very, very close, really close. And it must really annoy Arsenal fans how close they are. They always seem to have one that's just that little bit better than them. But on the other hand, you're 2-0 up at home. You shouldn't be dropping 2 points in that game. So what about Villa's goals? The way they came about, who was maybe at fault? Or do we look at it and go, that was just really well taken goals because it was 2 goals in 8 minutes and Villa got back on level terms?
Just like Maatsen fell asleep, it was Merino that fell asleep on that play. This is where, the nice part of our Arsenal stops, because you're absolutely right. I mean, this is 2 points dropped, which in the end, my gut feeling is going to cost Arsenal, and Liverpool are going to win the title. And being close is great. The progress that we talk about, it's fine, but let's face it. I mean, this was supposed to be a title race against this juggernaut that Manchester City are. The Arsenal came close, and knowing now for a long, long time that Manchester City aren't in a conversation, this was supposed to be, at the very least, and should have been, Arsenal's year. In come Liverpool without any transfers for the most part, legendary coach leaving, a new manager coming in, and most likely they're going to lose it. And that's the bottom line. And so it's unacceptable at home to dominate Villa so much. The start to the game was perfect because Arsenal set themselves up very, very well in this game. They got themselves a reward early enough with the goal, followed up with the second, and that should have been it. And we should have been talking about the conversation about Arsenal playing great after a tough week. North London derby, Manchester United, and that would have been what you call an easy win against a very good Villa team. So this is going to cost them, and there are no excuses whatsoever when it comes to the final result.
In a way, could you argue that the last 3 or 4 minutes of normal time and then the 7 minutes of added time. And the dominance Arsenal had in that is a bit of a microcosm of how close they have been to getting over that line, but not quite doing it. So you've got the Mikel Merino shot that took a deflection. It hit the arm of Kai Havertz because he's the last attacker to hit the ball. It gets disallowed. It has to. Leandro Trossard right across goal. Mikel Arteta thinks, oh, that's close, but it just goes wide. There was so many near things right at the end. And Arsenal have done enough in the last 2 or 3 years to never be written off, because we've seen them as they found a way, because that's what really good teams did. But they didn't find a way today. And that's kind of been a microcosm of life at the top under Mikel Arteta, hasn't it? So near, but yet so far.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I, even though I've said it, that it most likely is going to call Arsenal, because even before this game, right? I mean, we had, at the end of the day, Arsenal, with what we know right now, they're going to pretty much run the table. But I refuse to rule them out, because that mentality is there. I mean, it's a difficult schedule, as we've seen, the cup games and the opposition that they play, the injuries that they have. Everybody deals with that, but it's not easy to play to that sort of level, to get themselves up a couple of days after North London derby, to play against an excellent Aston Villa team at that level. And to me, that means something. This is not an Arsenal team that looked second best in that game, I guess we would have had a different conversation. So there's no quit in this team. I didn't see it today. I mean, they absolutely knew that they needed. I mean, they were pushing until the end. That's obvious. They had to, but they did it with quality. They didn't do it with panic, right? They didn't do it just throwing people up there. Their philosophy continue. That wide game, Trossard again, very, very good. So I'm going to stop short of saying this is it. It's easy to say that. I mean, there's certainly mountain to climb. No questions about that. But I'm not writing them off just yet. They will be in that fight until the end, and most likely will come up short.
Look, we're just over the halfway point in the season. We've had plenty of twists and turns. Just today, Bournemouth winning at Newcastle by 4-1, and Liverpool scoring late. There's no way you're writing anybody off. We might be at the stage now, though, where there's more likelihood of Liverpool having to come back to the chasing pack than the chasing pack catching Liverpool. Is that fair?
Yes, but we saw today. I mean, this is not Liverpool at their absolute best that we've seen in years past, and we understand that. But Liverpool came 2 late goals from Darwin Núñez. They dominated the opposition as well, but we've seen some softness on their part, and they have some issues. They're going to have to deal with a lot of competitions as well, rotation. And yes, just as I said today, that for me, at least in my opinion, Liverpool has to concentrate on the league and nothing else. Same goes for Arsenal, even more so, because I don't think that Arsenal are capable of winning the Champions League. I think Liverpool may have a better shout at that. The other cups, I don't really, in terms of Liverpool, I don't want to say they're meaningless, but the FA Cup or the League Cup, I don't think are high on their priority list. For Arsenal, maybe more so, right? Because I mean, they're going to have to win something. One FA Cup in all of that run with Arteta doesn't seem enough.
It's only fair to end this by talking about Villa, because we've spoken a lot about Arsenal, understandably so. They're title contenders. But it's like anything. You and I have spoken. There's always 2 sides to everything, and there's always the headline, there's always the narrative. But in this case, there's the side that, whether or not they deserved something from the game, they came back from 2-0 down against a very good side who were playing very well. What does that tell us about Aston Villa and what Unai Emery has generated during his time there that they never know if they're beaten?
Well, you just feel that I think that Unai Emery is maybe at that stage that Arsenal were 3-4 years ago when Mikel Arteta finished 8th twice, right? Starting to build that. I think we see, obviously we all remember, what was it, 17th place when he took over not that long ago. I think this team is building their squad. The ownership is stable, one that's willing to spend money. even today, when we talk about injuries to Arsenal, I look at here, John McGinn, Pau Torres, Diego Carlos, Ross Barkley, who's been very good this season. So those are significant losses for them as well. They can play against anybody. They're not afraid to play against anybody. They're not pragmatic. They go after the opponents as well, and they don't know how to quit, as they've shown here as well. So this is a team that I suppose next season maybe there's going to be a little bit more pressure, but their number one goal is still to make it to the top four. As you've mentioned often, that likely England will have 5, but let's stick with the top 4. That's where they need to be and continue to build with Unai Emery. And it looks good so far.
Yeah, they're only 2 points behind Newcastle. And when we talk about progress, and look, one of the reasons why we're not writing Arsenal off, because anything can happen. I'm going to take you back just as we wrap this up to June 2020. I think it was the first game back after COVID. It was Aston Villa against Sheffield United, and both sides were really struggling. And at that stage, Villa were just hoping to stay in the Premier League. It had been a kind of tough spell. Look at where they were, and look at where they are now. And look at where Arsenal were, and look at where they are now. Mikel Arteta has never finished any lower the following season than he did the previous season. It's either been the same or it's been better. Now it's going to be tough to maintain second and to try and get to first. But it just shows you it's a long game, isn't it? In a world where we all lack patience, sometimes you need a little bit of that as far as Arsenal and Villa are concerned. But today, Villa get a point when they were 2-0 down. Arsenal huffed and puffed towards the end of the game, but they could not blow that Birmingham house down as Villa go back to the north with 1 point. Bye for now.